Hello, I'm Dr. Robert Clark. For decades, I've had the privilege of sitting with thousands of patients, helping them navigate the complexities of their health as they age. And one of the most common and most dangerous points of confusion I see is not what medication to take, but when. Did you know that taking your mealtime insulin just 15 to 20 minutes late could be the single reason your blood sugar remains dangerously high hours after you eat? It's a tiny window of time, but it can make the difference between feeling energetic and feeling foggy, sluggish, and defeated. You're not alone in this frustration. So many people I talk to are doing everything else right. They're testing their sugar, they're trying to eat well, but this one small timing mistake is sabotaging their efforts. This isn't just a minor detail, it has a warning shot from your body that something is out of sync. Let me tell you about a gentleman named Arthur. He was a retired accountant in his late 60s, a wonderful man who loved his Sunday dinners with his family. He was on a rapid-acting insulin, Novolog, to cover his meals. Arthur was meticulous. He checked his sugar, he calculated his carbs, and he gave his dose. But his blood sugar 2 hours after eating was always a disaster, often soaring above 250. He came to my office, completely disheartened, holding up his logbook and saying, "Doc, this stuff just doesn't work for me. Am I a lost cause?" We went through his routine step by step, and we found the culprit. He was taking his insulin after he finished his last bite, believing he was perfectly matching the insulin to the food he had just eaten. Here's the practical problem with that, especially when you're not at home. Imagine you're at a restaurant. You order your meal, you wait. The food arrives, you eat, and then you take your insulin. The trouble is, the carbohydrates from that meal have already been released into your bloodstream like racehorses bursting from the starting gate. Your insulin, meanwhile, is still lacing up its running shoes. It's already 30 minutes behind in a race it can't afford to lose. So here is a real-world solution. When you're at a restaurant, the moment the server takes your order and walks away from the table, that is your cue. That's when you should discreetly administer your rapid-acting insulin. This gives it the crucial 15-minute head start it needs. Now, what if the food is unexpectedly delayed? This is a valid concern. The simple fix is to always carry what I call an emergency 15 grams of carbohydrate with you. That could be 4 glucose tablets, a small box of raisins, or 4 ounces of juice. If 20 minutes have passed and there's still no food, you simply consume your emergency carbs. This gives the insulin something to work on and prevents your blood sugar from dropping too low. Now I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. First, when you eat out, do you find yourself just guessing when to take your insulin, hoping for the best? Second, have you ever felt that profound post-meal fatigue and blamed it on the food, when it might actually have been your medication timing? Let's talk about the simple science behind this. Think of your rapid-acting insulin as the lead runner in a relay race. It needs that 15-minute head start to be in position, warmed up, and ready to grab the baton, the glucose from your food, the very second it enters your bloodstream. If the insulin starts the race at the exact same time as the glucose gets a massive lead. For the next 2 to 3 hours, your insulin is left playing a desperate game of catch-up, and your blood sugar remains dangerously high. This is what we call a postprandial spike, and preventing it is one of the most important things you can do for your long-term health. It all comes down to giving your medicine that crucial head start. We've talked about the critical timing of a single medication, but the reality for most of us is far more complex, isn't it? It's rarely just one bottle on the nightstand. It's often a collection of them. One for blood sugar, one for blood pressure, maybe one for your thyroid, another for cholesterol. This is where things can get truly confusing and even dangerous. The good news is that organizing this is not as daunting as it seems, and getting it right can transform how you feel. Let me tell you about Margaret. She was a retired schoolteacher in her early 70s, a wonderfully sharp woman who came to me in a state of near panic. She had a weekly pill organizer, and she was so proud of how diligent she was. The problem was, to get it all over with, She was taking all of her morning pills at once, her metformin for diabetes, her lisinopril for blood pressure, and her levothyroxine for an underactive thyroid. She was experiencing terrible stomach upset and spells of dizziness, and her lab work showed her thyroid levels were completely unstable despite her taking the medication faithfully. She felt like her body was betraying her, but it wasn't her body. It was a medication traffic jam. Here's a practical, real-world example of how to fix this. I want you to take out a simple piece of paper and a pen tonight. We're going to create a medication timeline. At the top, write "Wake Up." That's your first slot. For Margaret, this is where her thyroid pill, levothyroxine, goes. It must be taken on a completely empty stomach with only water. Then, draw an arrow and write, "Wait 60 minutes." This is non-negotiable. After that, write "Breakfast." This is the slot for her metformin, which needs to be taken with food to prevent the very stomach upset she was experiencing. Then you can add other slots: lunch, dinner, and bedtime. Her blood pressure pill could go at any of these times, but her cholesterol statin is often best taken at bedtime, as that's when your body's cholesterol production is highest. By simply spacing these 3 morning pills out, Margaret's stomach issues vanished, her dizziness stopped, and her thyroid levels stabilized for the first time in a year. I'd like you to pause and ask yourself these 2 questions. Right now, do you have a clear, written-out schedule for every single one of your medications and supplements? And have you ever truly considered how your other medications might be either helping or hurting your diabetes treatment? Let's unpack the simplified science of why this coordination is so vital. Imagine your stomach and your bloodstream are a busy train station. Each medication is a different train trying to get to a specific platform to deliver its passengers. If you send all the trains down the track at the exact same time, you create chaos. The levothyroxine train needs a completely clear track, no food, no coffee, no other pills, to get to its platform. Calcium, which is in milk and many fortified foods, can literally latch onto the thyroid medication and prevent it from ever being absorbed. The metformin train, on the other hand, needs a food buffer. It's a heavy train that can damage the station walls if it comes in too hard and fast, which is why it can cause nausea on an empty stomach. The statin train for cholesterol works best on the night shift when the station is quiet and it can do its work most effectively. It's not about just taking the pills, it's about being the master controller of the train station, ensuring every train leaves on time and on the right track. Now that we understand the importance of coordinating different medications, let's zoom in on the most crucial timing relationship of all, the link between your diabetes medication and your meals. This is what I call the meal medication matrix. Getting this wrong can lead to either dangerously high blood sugar or, just as frighteningly, dangerously low blood sugar. It's a delicate dance, but one that you can absolutely lead with confidence once you understand the steps. I'll never forget a patient named David, a long-haul truck driver in his late 50s. David was on a type of medication called a sulfonylurea, which actively stimulates the pancreas to produce insulin. His routine was to wake up at 5 a.m., take his pill with a gulp of black coffee, and then hit the road. He often wouldn't stop for his first real meal until a truck stop 4 or 5 hours later. He came to see me because he'd been having these terrifying episodes of dizziness, breaking out in a cold sweat, and feeling profoundly confused while driving. He thought it was just fatigue from the road. I explained to him that he was experiencing severe hypoglycemia. His medication was essentially forcing his body to produce insulin, but with no food in his system for hours, that insulin had nothing to do but devour the glucose already in his bloodstream, causing it to plummet to dangerous levels. For him, this wasn't just a health risk, it was a public safety emergency. Let's create a practical meal medication matrix you can apply today. Think of your day in 4 blocks: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and bedtime. For breakfast, medications like David's sulfonylurea must be taken with your meal or shortly before. You are turning on the insulin factory, so you must have the raw materials ready for it. Metformin, as we discussed, should also be taken with your breakfast to buffer your stomach. For lunch, this is often when a second dose of metformin is taken, again with the meal. If you take rapid-acting insulin, the 15-minute before the first bite rule applies here as well. For dinner, the same rules for lunch often apply. This is also when many people take their cholesterol medication, a statin. While it can be taken any time, research suggests it's most effective in the evening. For bedtime, this is the most common time to take long-acting basal insulin, like Lantus or Basaglar. This insulin is designed to work slowly in the background, keeping your blood sugar stable while you sleep. Taking it at a consistent time every night is absolutely critical. Taking a sulfonylurea right before bed with no food is one of the most dangerous things you can do, as it can lead to severe hypoglycemia while you are asleep and unable to recognize the symptoms. Here are your reflective questions for this section. Think about your own daily routine. Are you taking a medication prescribed with food, but then getting distracted and not eating for another hour? And secondly, do you know with 100% certainty which of your medications is designed to work slowly overnight versus which one is designed to tackle the food you are about to eat? The science behind this is elegantly simple. It's all about matching the action curve of the drug to the glucose curve from your food. Medications like sulfonylureas, as I mentioned, are like flipping a switch that says release insulin now. It's an immediate, powerful effect. If there's no food, that insulin has nowhere to go. On the other hand, a drug like metformin works differently. It primarily works by telling your liver to release less glucose into the blood and by making your muscle cells more sensitive to the insulin you already have. It works more in the background, and taking it with food is less about a timing synergy and more about preventing gastrointestinal side effects. Understanding how your specific medication works, whether it's a factory foreman demanding insulin production or a gentle coach improving your body's efficiency, is the key to mastering this matrix. We've built a solid foundation. You understand the importance of timing your insulin, coordinating all your different pills, and synchronizing them with your meals. But even with the best intentions, there are common timing mistakes, subtle but dangerous traps, that can derail your progress. These are often things we do without a second thought, especially when our routine is disrupted. Acknowledging them is the first step toward avoiding them forever. Let me tell you about Sarah and Tom, a lovely couple in their 70s who had saved up for years to take a dream trip to Italy for their 45th anniversary. Tom had type 2 diabetes and took a long-acting basal insulin every night at 10 p.m. without fail. When they arrived in Italy with the 7-hour time difference, they were exhausted. Tom simply took his insulin at 10 p.m., local Italy time, and went to bed. What he didn't account for was that this was only 17 hours after his last dose, not 24. For the first few days of their trip, his blood sugar was a chaotic mess. He had too much insulin in his system, causing a scary low one afternoon, followed by a massive rebound high the next morning. It cast a terrible shadow over their vacation until they placed an emergency call to my office. We had to create a simple transition plan to gradually shift his dosing time to maintain that critical 24-hour interval. This brings us to some very practical examples of common but dangerous mistakes. The first, as Tom learned, is failing to adjust for time zone changes. If you are on a once-a-day medication like long-acting insulin, you must maintain that 24-hour cycle. The best way is to either stick to your home time zone for your medication for the first day, or to split the difference, moving the time by a few hours each day until you're on local time. The second big mistake is taking your medication with the wrong beverage. Many of us reach for our morning pills with our coffee or orange juice, but the acidity in coffee and juice can sometimes degrade the coating of certain pills, causing them to be released improperly. And grapefruit juice is famously dangerous, as it blocks a key enzyme in your intestines, which can cause medications like statins to build up to toxic levels in your blood. The rule should always be, take your medication with a full glass of plain water. Finally, never ever mix diabetes medications that can lower your blood sugar, like insulin or sulfonylureas, with alcohol on an empty stomach. This combination is a fast track to a hypoglycemic emergency. Now, take a moment for these two important questions. Have you ever traveled across time zones and just guessed with your medication schedule, hoping it would all work out? And what do you typically take your pills with each day? Is it always water, or is it whatever beverage is most convenient at that moment? The science behind these mistakes is fascinating. Your body runs on a beautifully orchestrated 24-hour internal clock, our circadian rhythm. Long-acting medications are designed to synchronize perfectly with this clock, providing a steady, consistent level in your bloodstream over a full 24-hour cycle. When you abruptly change time zones, you're resetting your internal clock, but the medication from your last dose is still operating on the old schedule. This creates either a dangerous period of overlap, where you essentially have a double dose, or a critical gap in coverage where you have none. As for the beverages, think of a pill's coating as a time-release package. It's engineered to dissolve at a specific rate in the neutral environment of your stomach and intestines. When you introduce a highly acidic liquid like coffee or certain juices, you can destroy that packaging, causing the entire dose to be dumped into your system at once, which is not how it was designed to work. It's a simple matter of chemistry that can have profound effects on your health. We have covered a lot of ground: the nuances of insulin, the chaos of uncoordinated pills, the mealtime matrix, and the hidden traps of travel and routine. It might feel like a lot to remember, but I want to bring this all together into a simple, powerful action plan. This is what I call the Fix It Tonight protocol. It's not about waiting for your next doctor's appointment. It's about taking back control of your health and your safety, starting this evening. I want to end with a story of hope, a patient named Eleanor. When she first came to see me, she felt completely defeated by her diabetes. Her kitchen counter was a confusing jumble of pill bottles, and she confessed she was often guessing which ones to take and when. She was forgetting doses, then sometimes taking them at the wrong time out of panic. Her blood sugar log looked like a seismograph during an earthquake. We sat down in my office, and for 30 minutes we did exactly what I'm about to ask you to do. We laid out every bottle. We wrote a simple schedule. We set alarms on her flip phone. She came back 1 month later, and for the first time, she was smiling. She held up her logbook, which now showed stable, predictable numbers. With tears in her eyes, she said, "For the first time in years, I feel like I'm finally in the driver's seat again. That is what I want for you. Here is the protocol. It has 4 simple steps. 1. The review. Tonight, before you go to bed, gather every single one of your medication bottles, including vitamins and supplements. Lay them all out on your kitchen table. 2. The schedule. Take a piece of paper and write down the name of each medication and the exact instructions on the label. Take 1 tablet by mouth twice daily with meals. Write it all down. Identify any potential conflicts we discussed, like taking thyroid medication with other pills, or taking a sulfonylurea on an empty stomach. 3. The alarms. Pick up your phone right now. Not later, right now. For every single dose you need to take tomorrow, set a recurring daily alarm. And here is the most important part. Label the alarm. Don't just set an alarm for 8 a.m. Label it. Take metformin with breakfast now. Label the 10 p.m. alarm. Take Basaglar insulin now. 4. The system. Get a pill organizer. They cost a few dollars at any pharmacy. If you have one, use a permanent marker to write the times directly on the lids. 7 a.m., 1 p.m., 7 p.m., 10 p.m. This weekend, sit down and fill it for the entire week. This simple act removes the daily guesswork. Now for your final and most important reflective questions. If I asked you to write down every medication you take and its exact prescribed time from memory, could you do it with perfect accuracy? And, more importantly, what is the one single step from this protocol that you can and will take tonight to make your medication routine safer? The science behind this protocol is about more than just memory. It's a psychological principle called external cognition. You are using tools outside of your brain, paper, alarms, a plastic box, to handle a complex and repetitive task. This offloads the mental burden. You no longer have to spend your day wondering, did I take my lunch pill? You have created a forcing function, a system that makes it easy to succeed and hard to fail. This consistency is what allows your medications to achieve what we call a steady-state concentration in your blood. This is the ultimate goal, a stable, predictable level of medication working around the clock to protect you. It's the key to effective disease management, and it is completely within your control, starting tonight.